Skyrim, the legendary video game from Bethesda. It took the gaming community by storm when it was released 12 years ago. Widely regarded as one of the best video games of all time, it is not surprising it sold over 60 million copies as of 2023. Let's remove our rose-tinted glasses, delve deeper, and learn more about Skyrim, shall we? Was it really a masterpiece? Skyrim. It's an RPG sandbox game about freedom, imagination, the what-ifs, the freedom to be whoever I want, go wherever I wish. The game does not restrict the player from the get-go. After a 10-minute tutorial, you are plunged right into the realm of Skyrim. The continent's diverse landscape was inspired by Norse mythology, consisting of frigid winters in the north to lush summer forests in the southern regions. The main quest is not compulsory, it merely serves as a loose guide. I can even turn off all my quest icons and wander around aimlessly. See that mountain? I can climb it right now. This cave looks inhospitable. I better check it out. Beautiful cities and villages dot the landscape. Hidden dangers lurk in the deepest dungeons. Secrets and bits of lore were scattered throughout the land, waiting for me to discover them. The player is like the writer of a blank novel. This story is about you and your adventures. The playable character is mute, and I can freely envision my own dialogue and visualize how my character talks and sounds. I can pretend to be a woodcutter who lives a quiet life in a small village, chopping wood. Or I can play as a suicidal murderous lunatic that causes destruction and mayhem out of spite because people had problems with my face when I was growing up. What I want my character to be is entirely up to me. The gameplay loop consists of going to a dungeon, which can be a cave, fort, Dwemer ruins, or tombs fighting the respective enemies in that particular dungeon. Mages and bandits inhabit forts. Caves are packed with animals. Dwemer ruins contain automatons and falmers, and tombs are crawled with undead such as draugrs and skeletons. You will mainly fight and loot everything valuable inside the dungeons. Potions, ingredients, equipment, ammunition, crafting materials, etc. Skyrim provides you with multiple tools to fight your battles. Three main combat styles in Skyrim form the fundamentals of engaging enemies. Melee includes swords and shields for slashing and bashing enemies at point-blank range. Range includes bows and crossbows to pick off enemies from a distance. And magic is the biggest in terms of variety, with tons of spells for you to play with. From destruction spells to utility spells, all of them provide unique game mechanics to the game. Lastly, every Dragonborn has a powerful ability called Shouts that's on a cooldown. Shouts range from a powerful force that sends enemies flying, freezing breath to temporarily remove an enemy from a fight, or transform you into a phantom to avoid damage, so you can escape sticky situations or jump from tall places without sustaining any damage. Skyrim's world is exceptionally interactable. Many objects can be interacted with and serve more purpose than just decoration. In other games, the assets are merely props. In Skyrim, however, objects lying about can be picked up and used. The developers carefully place resources such as gold, food, weapons, and crafting materials in your surroundings. Everything and anything is a valuable resource for crafting and leveling up your skills. No other game had enticed me to scour my surroundings so carefully, keeping my eye out for treasure and any bits of environmental storytelling. Even the most pointless miscellaneous objects can be sold or used as a dangerous weapon for my telekinesis spell. Thanks to the countless exciting faces of the non-playable characters inhabiting this continent's vast stretches, the world never felt more alive. The NPCs felt like people. They have their own lives, routines, and personalities, each with multiple backstories and identities that make them stand out. Skyrim tries very hard to simulate real people, and it has hundreds of named NPCs, each with its backstories, struggles, and relationships with other characters. Everybody knows each other here in Skyrim. Next, let's take a look at how the game simulates time. Previously, I talked about how the NPCs have routines. Shopkeepers usually open their doors for business from 8 AM to 8 PM. If it's not business hours, they won't sell you anything. So all you can do is wait until the morning. Another instance was this festival in which the residents of Solitude gathered around to burn an effigy of a king. This event can only be triggered at nighttime, and you must sleep or pass the time until the evening for it to activate. NPCs hang about the market during the day, visit the local tavern during the evening, and return home at night. These examples simulate the passage of time realistically and make the game more immersive. Another cool detail is how you can always check the date and time currently since the day you created your character. I love Skyrim so much. No other game has created such an exciting and believable high fantasy world of dragons, vampires, and political conflicts that I can experience in the comfort of my own home. The most impressive part of it all? This ambitious game was released back in 2011. After the release of Skyrim's Anniversary Edition, I decided to experience everything Skyrim has to offer. I did almost all the quests, and I explored every nook and cranny of this enormous world. I mercilessly defeated everything that got in my way. But then it hit me. The more I played, one critical problem of the game started revealing itself to me. And that problem is combat. Melee combat is shallow and simple. You will learn pretty much everything there is to swordplay within the first 10 minutes of the game. A light attack is your basic attack, while a strong attack does more damage and staggers weak enemies. Congratulations! You can now beat everything in the game! Spam that left mouse button like there's no tomorrow. So you've decided to do a melee playthrough, your first 10 minutes of fighting will probably be the same as your 100th time fighting. It's the same principle regarding bow and arrow. You hold down left click and let go. From the minute you learn how to fire a bow, you've learned everything there is to using a bow. The combat is crafted to be accessible, but it doesn't mean it should be bare bones. There's a severe lack of unique mechanics introduced. So that leaves the magic sector. With so many spells in the game, surely it would take a long time to experience everything. Right? Well, magic doesn't scale into the late game at all. You cannot improve your magic damage beyond a certain point, so it means you'll be at a disadvantage as you progress the game compared to using a weapon such as a bow or a sword, as all enemies have increased health and deal more damage as you level up. This conveniently leads to the next point. The perks are unbalanced. Some you can't live without, such as smithing and enchanting, which makes your weapons do respectable damage and scale into the late game. The enemies in the game scale with your level, so the higher your level, the harder the enemies. This makes magic builds a huge slog in the late game. Some perks are pointless, like lockpicking and pickpocketing. Many combat perks are mostly passive, like doing more damage, so it doesn't introduce any new ways to fight combat at all, which is a bit disappointing. And since you can't enchant your magic, the only way to increase your magic damage is through these small perks in the skill tree, and that's it. The most interesting combat of the three is the least useful in the late game. Let's say I want to use flames, the most basic destruction spell in the game, as my main mode of offense. At most, with these perks, I still end up doing pitiful amounts of damage to high level enemies. For a sandbox game that's all about no restrictions and customizability, this is very limited. Now look back at your playthroughs. How many times do you want to play a unique build at the start, only to end up as a sneak archer? Enemy AI is basic, with simple attack patterns. Melee users rush you, ranged users keep at a distance. This makes every enemy encounter virtually the same wherever you go. You can also cheese many tough melee enemies by shooting projectiles and hiding behind cover like this dragon over here, or standing on ledges like this mammoth. Now imagine the hundreds of dungeons in the game that you want to beat and complete. At what point do you get bored? There are also some minor issues the game can do better. The world has too many loading screens due to hardware limitations. All the NPCs share the same few voice actors. The tediousness of holding Luke back home and sorting them out individually one by one due to the lackluster menu. The countless amount of bugs, surprisingly, I found them more funny than annoying. Knowing that such a great game is demotivating to play through the end is disappointing. It's easy to start Skyrim, but completing the enormous amount of content, such as quests, it becomes a big chore. Suddenly, it dawned on me. Perhaps all this time, I was playing the game wrong. Unlike most other games, Skyrim was not meant to be completed 100% in one playthrough. One of the best ways to enjoy Skyrim and not feel burnt out is to roleplay different characters. I tried to imagine myself being the character. If I was playing an honorable Stormcloak Nord who wants to free Skyrim from the Imperials, would I concern myself with delving into the tombs of my ancestors for treasure? No, I would spend that playthrough joining the Stormcloaks and battling the Imperials. Suppose I were a self-centered thief whose sole purpose were to acquire as much wealth as possible by stealing and trying to avoid being captured. Should I fight that dragon to save the town, or use this opportunity to loot the valuables from casualties? Limitations like these make the game more interesting, as you are more selective in your choices with the restrictions being placed on you. This also means it's unlikely you are going to finish the game or see everything on one playthrough, because now you are playing Skyrim in a more restricted way. When you get bored, start a new game and create a new character. Skyrim isn't primarily an RPG about reaching the highest level, acquiring all the rare types of equipment and defeating tougher enemies, but instead, it's a sandbox that's more about the immersion and experiences that make it the legendary game that it is. Staring at the moons and stars of the galaxy during the clear cloudless midnight in the wilds, venturing into the beautiful glowing caves deep underground filled with dangerous creatures, or fighting passionately to free Skyrim from the tyranny of the elves. What makes Skyrim so special are the stories you create, the memories you remember, and the journeys you've been through. Do not be afraid to start over and experience the game in a different light. After all, Skyrim is an open-ended masterpiece of a game that's not meant to be played to the end. For a game this broad, at what point do you really beat Skyrim?